Right. And we are live. And I'm going to dance by myself today. Welcome, everybody who's tuning in. Dylan here with Unfound Adventures. I'd like to say I'm going solo. I'm going solo on screen today because Matt is not with us. He is at a company offsite in his hometown of Austin. But I do have Evan here.
Hi.
As always, we love the charisma. We love the energy coming from Evan. Thanks for joining everybody for Unfound Adventures, another Facebook Live, Ask Me Anything. We're also going live on YouTube. We're live on our public Facebook page. We're also live on our public Facebook page. And today we will be creating a beast for one of our editors, Lindsay Allenson. We'll be creating an Explorer Climber beast. That is part, from what I know, Evan, you can correct me if I'm wrong here. It is part polar bear, part dog, and you would use the word dopey giant.
I would use the word dopey giant, at least according to the write-up. And to that effect, I'm just kind of warming up here with drawing a Newfoundland, which is the dopiest of dopey giant dogs, in my personal opinion. And so I'm just kind of using that as a way to warm up, as I said, and get some of those like visual markers in top of mind for myself. So I know what makes a Newfoundland look like a Newfoundland and feel super dopey.
I'm not going to lie to you, this looks dopey.
At least in the face.
From what I know of Lindsay, that may be the dog that she's thinking of. I believe she has a Newfoundland or Burmese mountain dog. So this will work perfect for you. How long have you been drawing now, Evan? Not to show your age, but how long have you been drawing?
In my entire life, or on this dog?
No. Your entire life.
My entire life, I guess, is since I could hold a pencil. I mean, that doesn't mean I was always good, not at all. Drawing seriously, probably since I was 20. So about what year is it? It's 2023.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, 11, 12 years, something like that.
Over a decade. And when you go to draw in front of people, you still have your warm up. Is your warm up the same every time?
No. But yeah, of course I have a warm up. I mean, professional athletes have a warm up before they go on the court, the basketball court, or the football field, or whatever it is. I don't know, sport places. I don't know sports.
We can
before
tell.
Before they go into sport places, they have warm ups. Vocalists have warm ups. Performers have warm up. Everybody has warm ups. Just because the drawing is not quite so physical of an activity as athleticism or singing or anything like that, doesn't mean that warm-ups are not helpful, if not essential. They definitely get some of the juices flowing. They get a lot of the bad decisions out of your system before you are in a performative context like this.
Mm-hmm.
And they just help you get back into the right mindset.
Yeah,
so I'm going to start working on this Newfoundland.
You keep going, because I actually have a follow-up question with it, because what I do in my day job is consult for small businesses to help them create their offer, market themselves, and sell it. And the biggest thing people get nervous of when they're creating a new offer is, how do I sell it? It feels just very rigid, and people think selling is like persuading somebody to buy. And one of the things that I tell them, like, hey, we need to practice selling the right way. Like, how do we listen properly? How do we play back properly? So we have throughout the week these sales practices where people just get to role play with each other. And they'll go through a script so they can get confident. And what I'll tell them at times is I say, hey, sometimes when you're practicing, it can feel tight, right? Like very similar to like a football practice. It's very mechanical in practice. So then you can naturally flow when they're on the field. That's what it's called when a football player plays a game, a field. For you.
All right. Thanks.
Not a problem.
I'll log that one away.
But there is almost a rigidity that can come with practice, so you can flow when the time's right. Do you feel the same way when you practice before you get out? Like, does it feel somewhat rigid when it's art, or does it feel like you're
Absolutely, especially if I haven't drawn in a while, which fortunately hasn't happened in a while. I haven't not drawn every day in a long time. But if I went like 2 weeks without drawing and then came back to it, I would feel like I had forgotten entirely how to draw. So I mean that does happen actually on a like more granular scale. Like if I spend a lot of time on Bastunia, for instance, I'll forget how to paint because
Mhm.
I spend all of that time just drawing and working in line work. And then I go to work on a painting for a different project, and it's like, I don't remember how to do anything, and so it can feel a lot like you're having to relearn. But it's just that warm up. You just warm up. The warm up is longer when you've taken that kind of a big, lengthy break. But that's all it
Is
really is.
is what we're seeing on the page warm up right now, or are we diving in?
I'm just kind of exploring stuff. So
Because my question would be, when you come to this type of drawing, like let's say you were working on watercolor, you're working on paint, and then you come to this. For someone out there that's looking to draw similar to you, what would be the go-to frameworks that you like? I've heard of cross-hatching in the past, and that's about as much as I know of drawing in general. But what are like the go-to modules or the go-to modalities for you and for someone learning to draw?
yeah, good question. So
I'm
cross
full of them,
hatching
man.
is you know what? I'll come back to cross hatching.
Okay.
Um, so yeah, I'm kind of just exploring here with overall shapes, or at least that's what I started with. I'll remind you that because this is a live stream and I've got limited time, I don't like stress test every choice as much as I would like to. But I'm just kind of exploring with different shapes here to identify a sort of body type and posing for the character. But shapes in general are really the best way to start. Like a term that gets bandied about a lot in things like character design and production design for animation is shape language, which I'm going to write up here so I feel teacherly. Shape language,
I'm gonna pretend to write it down.
um, which is it's a really esoteric term and difficult to sort of boil down into simple, easy to digest terms. But one of the best ways to think about shape language is like consider the lineup of the cast of Aladdin, Disney's Aladdin.
Okay.
The genie is
Hmm.
kind of like this big upside down pear. Got He's got he's actually got these like floaty arms.
Hmm.
The Sultan is basically a pear, right side up, with his big hat, tiny arms. You've got Aladdin, who's got kind of a triangle body and these big poofy pants. Jasmine, who's kind of your classic hourglass princessy figure.
Way to go,
So
Disney.
yeah, well, this was definitely pre a lot of changes to some of their character design mentality. And then, of course, you've got Jafar, who is really just all of these pointy, triangular shapes. Even his face is pointy, and his cap, which kind of mirrors that of the Sultan's, is pointy. It ends in a point, as opposed to the Sultan's, which is this big round oval. And so these are individual choices, all of which contribute to the shape language read of the characters. So
Mm.
the characters that are rounded and more built on a foundation of circular shape language are the friendlier or the softer, or in the case of the Sultan, the dopier types of
Hmm.
characters. Aladdin and Jasmine are a little bit more grounded. Aladdin
Yep.
has kind of a triangular pose, but he's very solid. He's very bottom heavy as a result of those balloon pants and the way he stands. Jasmine is an hourglass. There's unfortunately not a whole lot to break down there, but she's an hourglass. But
Hmm.
Jafar, on the other hand, is very much made of these sharp pointed triangles. Now I know Aladdin is triangular, but a shape can mean many different things. It's all about context and how you use it. So there's lots of points to his silhouette. There's lots of these tapering, elongated, sharp-looking triangles. He just kind of exudes this image of danger. And
Mm.
those are all very deliberate choices made out of a concept of shape language. So
So you're
it's really just based on that silhouette and carrying that same choice into the more granular details. Does that
Yeah,
make
so
sense?
for anyone joining, because I saw we had a couple of people join since we've been answering it. The question was getting ready to get into drawing. What are like the frameworks or the modules that Evan will stem off of, especially if it's been a while since you've been drawing this style, let's say, instead of like I think you said like a paint that you've done in the
Yeah.
past. So it's like, what are the modalities that you'll lean back to? And what I'm hearing is you kind of break people down into what type of shape, which then gives you this feel, which then can help you create the structure around said character.
Exactly. So yeah,
Yeah.
shape language is really what I'm talking about here, and it all comes from a very foundational, very lizard brain aspect of our psychology. Like if I draw this here, what I just drew down here, I'll zoom in,
Also, what's up, Buster?
and
Glad to have you here.
I just turned this into like pure black and white silhouette. Let me fill in those teeth just a little bit more. But without any sort of context, without any sort of additional meaning ascribed to this, like we feel the need to run away. It just screams imminent death to us, danger. And that's a very foundational part of our psychology, and that same philosophy really does inform every aspect of like deliberate character design or design for animation or design for a lot of things. And that's really where shape language comes from. I mean, the triangles, teeth, there's a big connection there. But as I said, any shape can have any variety of meanings. It's all about context.
When you
Another good example is Carl Fredrickson from Up. His entire face, his entire body is made of squares, and he's a very square-like character. He's a very stubborn and unmoving character. Even his walker is very square. His arms and hands, his fingers every part of him is squared off. Now he's a pretty extreme example of shape language. I don't actually remember what his hair looks like, but the point is, I wish I could pull up a reference of him right now. The point is that he is an extremely grounded, unmoving character, and that's coming from that very squared shape language.
Yeah, I'm trying to see if I can get one pulled up right now.
Oh, perfect.
Also,
yeah.
But Buster says your teeth look like a mix between a werewolf and I don't know if you're a Pokemon fan. Gengar is the two that he pulls up. Let's pull up Carl from Up.
I'll take that as a compliment.
Knowing him, it is a big time compliment. Buster, you're joining us. Thanks. Good to have you here. If you have any questions, I'm going to break down kind of where we're at in the process of building this world out. What these are used for. If you have any questions, feel free to throw them in the chat. Questions about the creative process, questions about the characters, questions about the books we've put out currently, questions about the books to come, whatever you want. We answer anything, even if there are spoilers. We will make sure and put spoiler warning. But before I do that, let's pull up our good buddy. Is it mine up or is it yours? No, it's mine, right? Our good buddy Carl.
Yeah,
That's
there you go.
As square as you can get, man.
Yeah, I mean, look at his face. He's a character of a square. He's a human character of a square.
Square. Yeah. So with this, it'd be like a rigid feel to him, right? Is that what you're saying? Like this rigid, stubborn.
Exactly. Feel? Exactly. I mean, alternatively, square could be like the shape chosen for a sort of brutish barbarian character, someone who's like a block. They are unmoving in that way. They're physically imposing. So in terms
think of a character today, which we're going to get to in just a second. Lindsay Allenson created a character. We are titling it Majesty until she tells us something else. Mix of a polar bear and a dog, and she's an explorer, climber, living close to the Great Mountain. What shapes come to mind for you, or what feel comes to mind from the current write-up, so people can get
exactly.
That idea.
So. Yeah, so this is a huge character. I think in Matt's write-up, it's Majesty is like 12 feet tall when they're standing. Yeah. So something imposing, and this is a character. This is a beast that likes to take on imposing stature. It's very much a dopey, friendly, playful character, but it likes to sort of mimic that imposing, like a bear standing on its hind legs, that image of just run away. Yeah. So that's also important in its consideration. So I could do something like a big mountainous, square like, Yeti character, maybe.
Yep.
And I could probably get away with that. Something like this, and maybe he's got
Uh-huh.
tiny legs. There, you got a Yeti. And it's very, very much a squared off, squared shape language kind of character. It's very simple, but it does the job. It communicates that imposing physicality. But because this is based on a dog, and because I was provided an image of a polar bear like rolling around on its back, I and because it's called Majesty, I really want to lean into the dopey, friendly, playful aspect of it. I love the idea of the name Majesty being in very stark contrast to the image that we get of this character. Kind of like when you see a big, muscly pro wrestler and his name is Tiny.
Yeah.
I want to lean into that for this beast, which may be contrary to the intention of the beast's creator. But if that's the case, we'll cross that bridge when we get to it.
Which is going to be the fun part.
This is
going to be it's like an oxymoron. We're going to have an oxymoron
exactly.
of a character. Yeah.
Exactly. And so what I'm exploring are really softer, more rounded shapes. Like this character is really just like a bean. This is a big old circle with a head. So this is more of the bear side of things. This is more, I guess, teddy bear if you really wanted to it just feels like a big stuffed animal.
Yeah.
And so, also explore things like this kind of pear-shaped character. This is sort of a body shape and body language that I tend to really like. The big bulky arms, and this kind of long neck, smaller head on the top. Maybe because it lives in the mountains, it has some horns, like a goat. Maybe not.
I know that there's amethyst,
but these
crystals or rocks on this beast as well. That's about all I know. It's when it comes to
on their claws.
Yeah.
On their claws, and their nose changes color. Is I don't know if the nose itself is crystalline, but it changes color based on kind of like a mood ring.
Yes.
Is a lot of the description that we got. So here's just your basic pear-shaped dopey looking character, but it's big, it's imposing, it kind of achieves that intention. There's obviously a lot more that could go into designing it, but this is where I would start. I would start with shape and just kind of exploring what kind of body type do I want, what kind of direction sort of evokes the right feeling, the right image, the right angle that I'm going for, and that's where I would take it.
I like it.
The next step would probably be things like staging. You go ahead.
In staging, we can get to. I think the big thing that I would take away from knowing the person that brought this in and seeing this, I love the juxtaposition of Majesty and Dopey with it. I know they'll probably have some type. I feel some type of sleeky Dopey feel from what I know about the person that created this. So that'll go into it. But for anyone here tuning in, this will be the first time Evan creates, other than my calling. This will be the first time Evan creates a calling or beast where he doesn't have a picture to stem off of. He is stemming off solely her written word. So if you're out there saying, man, I'd love to create in this world of Bastunia, but I can't draw for crap, what the heck could I do? We actually provide a free worksheet for anyone that wants to, whether it's for your kids or yourself, where you can describe and write out what you want your character to look like. And send it over to us. So if you're ever curious about that, feel free to let us know. That being said, I'm going to kind of fill everybody in of how we got here. Evan, while you start to work on this beast, is there anything else you'd like to add before I kind of give this summary of where we're at?
No. Go for it.
That's a long no. That might mean a yes, because you did bring up either you said shaping or structuring or shading. Start with an S.
Staging.
Start with an
staging. S. All right. Yeah, sure. Staging. So the next thing that I would work on is really staging. I would try to figure out how to stage the character, how to pose them, how to make it, how to sell the idea of the visual statement and the illustration using their body language and staging, rather than just like a pure silhouette or like a character standing in the T pose, like they're about to be used for 3D modeling.
Yeah.
So that's where acting and body language really come into play. And again, for something super dopey, so I'm kind of thinking about like a bear sitting on its butt and kind of looking over its shoulder like it's just been caught doing something doing something silly. So I don't know. I'm just kind of playing with that right now. We'll see if it goes anywhere. It might not, but I think that there's something disarming about, you're catching the character from behind, quite literally. You still get a big silhouette-driven idea of their body shape and body language, and yeah, so that's really where I'm leaning right now. We'll see where it goes.
Yeah, I love it, man. And for anyone seeing on the screen, Buster says, Evan seems very knowledgeable about this. Great asset to the new world. Cannot agree more, Buster. I'm going to hide that now just so we don't just stoke the fires of Evan's ego. Matt also says, wish he could be there today. We love you, man. We miss you. It's difficult for me to do by myself. I don't know if you could tell by my pits. I'm sweating. And he also says, very curious, spelled wrong, of some alternative names for the beast from Lindsay. So we'll see if it stays to Majesty. If you're tuning in, give us a wave, give us a hi. Feel free to ask a question, and feel free to drop a number in the comments from 1 to 10. How nervous do I seem? 1 being not nervous at all, 10 being very nervous, because I'm doing this without Matt being on screen as well. What I'm going to do right now is I am going to kind of give you all a summary. I'm going to catch everybody up of where we're at right now with what we've created. Thank you so much, Matt. He says 1, not nervous at all. I miss you. Let's see here. I'm getting ready to present my screen. Share screen. There we go. Boom. And then how do I do it? Just go right to slideshow. So where are we at right now? Unfound Adventures. 1, we have a logo now, which is incredible. So just kind of catch everybody up where we're at with the book, with the world we're creating, and hopefully with the movement we're starting to create. So first and foremost, anyone that's curious, our first 2 books are now out. They are available on Amazon if you want to go there. However, we started working with a new printer for our second book, The Return. We started working with Endeavor Press. I love their printing far more than Ingram Spark and Amazon. No offense to them. So if you have not got your first or second copy of your book, you can also reach out to us on any of our social platforms right here on Facebook. If you know me personally, feel free to shoot me a message, or Matt or Evan. So we have our first 2 books out. And where this started was Matt and I, before we even found Evan, wanted to create really cool comics and just tell our story, teach lessons, tell our story. And we wanted to look really good. So then we brought Evan on as a partner. So now the 3 of us are saying we have cool stories that we would love to get out there. And if this can turn into an animated series one day, that would be awesome. So what do? We created a world, the world of Bastunia, where our comics take place. Matt said, man, I'm really liking this comic. Let's start to picture this more. And he created this world. And what we realized is, as we created this world and places that people could live, we also started to create frameworks. So people could look into this to get a feel and say, where they could kind of place a little bit of themselves in the world. They said, man, would I want to live in a forest? Would I want to live more in the desert? Would I want to live in the harsh areas of no wasteland? Right? So we created this world, which turned into a framework. And in this world, we create what we call callings, or spiritual beasts. I'm sticking to the word. I love the word now. Anyone else that doesn't like the word, sorry. But the word is beast. These spiritual beasts that represent a totem for people in Bastunia that are gifted from their God, that represents what your calling is in life. I think a lot of people, they struggle to have this question answered of like, what am I called to do? So Matt, Evan, and I said, man, what if there was a world where people knew exactly what they were called to do? And this is me and one of my callings, and this is Matt and one of his callings, Chugach. And I wish I could show you a picture of Evan and his calling, but he refuses to create it. So make sure everyone shames Evan in the chat. But we created these callings to be this almost spirit animal for the people of Bastunia. Am I still here? And to give,
I can still hear you.
okay, good. I was more of could I move in this slideshow? Now, to just tell somebody, hey, what's your calling? It can be difficult. So we said, let's give frameworks. Let's give different avenues for them to think. Let's give them a box to think within. So we created 3 paths of callings, or 3 paths of beasts. There's the explorer path. So the people that are destined for adventure, that are filled with wonder and curiosity of what this world of Bastunia would look like, and they want to travel and understand it. The philosophers of Bastunia are typically explorers. We created the path of builders, the people that create the world, the creatives, the competitive people that want to construct their legacy within Bastunia, whether it's through a town, whether it's through some type of artwork or something else. Builders create. They're makers, they're creators. And then finally, we created the path of defenders, people that want to protect their brothers and sisters of Bastunia, people that are filled with love, people that are saying, hey, I love the simple things that I have. How can I protect it? How can I protect the gift that was given to me from the God, the cosmos, whatever? So when you start to describe those 3 paths, someone might say, okay, I don't know what my calling is yet, but I lean towards explorer. Okay, so now we can ask more questions. So we created paths. Then we started working with kids and their parents in schools. We started working with some play therapists. We started working with some of our backers and their kids. And we realized, man, kids have an imagination and they're not afraid to throw it out there. They're not afraid to say, this is what my calling would be. This is what I would want. And this, I don't know about you, Evan, but for me, this is where what we were building took a huge turn for what I think is for the better, right? It went from us just wanting to create our story to us creating a container for a bunch of people to create within. Is there anything you got similar when we shifted here, Evan, or is that just me?
No, I agree with that. I think the really rewarding aspects of being a part of this have come from working with kids and finding ways to use this world and IP to sort of empower their ability to communicate, to leverage storytelling for communication, to coming up with their own stories and sort of engaging with their creativity. Especially being a relatively new parent, it's something that is extraordinarily top of mind for me, and this has been a really helpful and educational experience in getting me thinking in different ways about how am I going to do that with my own children. And so it's been a big step, a big milestone, I think, for us.
It's funny. One of the kids that actually the parents brought me to this class, Cade. Their parents are actually watching right now. So is Cade and his sister Emmy. Hello. I will do my best not to swear. So that's Evan, the person that created your beast. If we swear, I promise I'll put money in the swear jar when I come over. But if we go back to this was actually the beginning concept of Cade's beasts. Now, in my opinion, when young kids create, it can take a bunch of different avenues. From what I know about Cade, I think being able to create these cool, I think we used the word nightmarish, which he liked, like these cool nightmarish defender beasts. It's like, man, that can show a young kid that creating doesn't have to be like the foofy thing that some of us think when we think of art class. It's like we can find some power in creativity of like, man, these are my defender beasts. These are the guys that got my back. But we also worked with a kid named, he goes by Cooper, is his alias, and he found a sense of identity creating his beast. He actually said to his mom, he's like, wow, it's like I'm accidentally describing myself when talking about his beast. So through imagination and creativity, as parents, we have a great opportunity to help our kids tap into self-awareness, right? Started working with kids, and then what we've realized is we want to start bringing kids' imagination and creativity to life using our world. So the last two beast creations, we had Ailish, created by Ashlyn. This is what she drew, and this is what we turned into for a beast in our world. And we had Centrac, created by Josiah. Both of these kids are 8 and 9 years old, and this is what we turned. This is a builder beast, Centrac. We turned into our world, and that was sponsored by my mom. She actually just printed it out yesterday because she was babysitting him, and she laminated it, so he now has his calling near him at all times. And I mean, that lights me up personally. So that's where we're at. Last thing, and then we're going to come back to Evan. It's not just for kids. So if you're watching this and you're like, man, I kind of want to create something, but I'm 30 or 40 years old, that's fine. Today, we're actually creating a explorer climber for one of our editors, Lindsay Allenson. She's mid-20s. She lives in Toronto, and she wants to create something, right? So she's creating a beast. And then Matt Seitz, I believe he's mid-30s, mid to early 30s. He is actually pairing up with us to create a story within the world of Bastunia, of a guy named Rory. Forgetting his last name, Matt, you can put it in the chat if you're here. Who actually he's a pirate that goes out to the Infin Sea as James goes to the mountain. James goes to the great mountain in Bastunia to try to find this missing god, and Rory Zenfari goes out to the sea. So, man, imagination and creativity is for everybody. It does not just have to be for your kids. If you would like to work with us in our world, let us know. You are more than welcome to join in our creation. And if you're like, but these guys already created their world, how do I catch up? The way you catch up is you participate, you ask questions. There's no such thing as bad questions. We want this to be a fun community feel. For those that don't know me, most people make fun of me. I am the joke, so feel free to make fun of me as you ask questions. Whatever I got to do to get you leaning into your imagination and creativity, I will. Anything you'd add, Evan, about the journey leading up to now?
No, I think you about covered it. Yeah, it's definitely exciting to see people get involved and get passionate about storytelling, about their own creativity through this. It's really rewarding to get to take some of those visions and either bring them to life visually or see them incorporated into the world after the fact and in the comics or what have you. So no, I mean, I would say it's really, you covered it. It's really easy to be scared to engage with things that can feel frivolous or aimed at children when you're, in your 30s and late 20s, but it's really dumb. That's really dumb. And that's pretty much the asterisk on my life story is I was really dumb in that exact way for a long time until I wasn't. So if it's helpful to anyone out there, don't be dumb.
Don't be dumb. We're talking to you,
Yes.
Kate Nemi. No, we're really talking to anybody here. Buster says, man, my 10-year-old son said he wants to make a defender beast. It sounds like similar to the Hydra. And he also, because we're coming back to Evan's beast that he's creating this week, beast called, right now, working title is Majesty. It is an explorer climber beast that lives in the mountains of the mountain range of the Great Mountain. It's got amethyst claws and a crystal-like nose that is changes colors. But we're going to come, if anyone has questions, Emmy, if you have any questions about us, about the world, Cade, if you have questions about your beast or the world, anyone in here has questions, feel free. Let's do a little bit of Q&A time. The first one is also from Buster. Evan, you do have to pick
Buster
right now. Yeah, it's Buster. He goes by Mark. Mark's his real name. We all call him Buster. Buster says, Evan, what is the favorite beast you've designed so far, whether for someone or in the world? And why?
Ooh.
I'll tell you which one isn't.
All right. Let's see. That's a really good question, and not one I thought of. I mean, if I had to give an answer off the cuff, which I guess I do, I would probably say Ubuntu which is I'm a little conflicted about it because one, it's Ubuntu, and I'm too cool for that, but also because Ubuntu is very much a recognizable simian beast. He's not. There's not a whole lot that's super imaginative about his anatomy or anything like that. He's a monkey, but he's, and this is really by virtue of the comics, rather than strictly the design process. He's given me a lot of opportunities to be really fun and playful and creative with his own acting and body language, and that's been, for me, the greatest joy of the comic making aspect of this is the acting, the facial expressions, finding ways to sell even subtlety in the form of black and white line art and very stylized characters. That's why I enjoy doing what I doing enjoy doing what I do, is that illusion of life in very simplified visual statement, or at least stylized and deliberately designed visual statement. And Ubuntu has so far allowed me the greatest freedom to do just that.
Yeah, I feel like he's this young, playful creature right now. We're gonna have a lot of. He's very animated with what he'll be doing as we continue to create this world, Buster. I think he's innocent, but as we continue to follow this story, we're gonna see how powerful Ubuntu is. For anyone here curious and anyone here that loves mythology or stories, Ubuntu is actually stemmed off of Sun Wukong, which is the monkey god of a book written in the 16th century in China called "Monkey: A Journey to the West," and it follows this great monkey god that defies the gods of heaven, the Jade Emperor, the gods of heaven, all of those within heaven. He defies them because he gets so strong, and the Buddha comes in and humbles this great monkey creature and partners him, first throws him under a mountain, and then partners him up with this young monk. And the story Journey to the West is all about their trials and tribulations to bring the Buddhist scrolls from India to China. He's one of the most well-known mythical creatures, and he's inspired a lot of cartoons from Goku in Dragon Ball Z to he just came out in Raid Shadow Legends. Where anyone here that's on YouTube, you get probably 18 of those ads a day. I'm trying to think who else he inspired.
Well, there's a new film on Netflix called The Monkey King that is explicitly about him, if anyone's interested.
Get out of here, man! I just deleted, or I just got rid of Netflix. I'm gonna have to bring Netflix back. Have you listened to any of the tales of Journey to the West or the Monkey King, Evan?
Me? Yes. Yeah,
Okay.
I have.
Here's a question asked by me, and anyone else, if you have questions about inspirations that we've had, the beasts that we're creating, feel free to add them in. We welcome them. But here's a question that I have. The Journey to the West and Sun Wukong was written in the 16th century China, and it is still going strong today with this character and the lessons, and it's and his personality, I'd even say. What do you think it is about something like that, whether it's the character of Sun Wukong or the book itself, that can last centuries?
Well, I mean, not to be dismissive of the source material, but I think a lot of it actually comes from the adaptations throughout the years. There have been so many, and one of them was essentially a Saturday morning cartoon, which was extraordinarily popular and extraordinarily impactful on the generation it appealed to. In the same way that you or I, Dylan, may have watched Power Rangers or Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles way back when. It was the core of the zeitgeist for being a child in a certain part of the world in a certain time, and so that definitely had a lot to do with it. But as for why it's in general a enduring story, it's got a lot of Sun Wukong is a very relatable character in that he's very much a rebel. He's trying to break and at the same time embrace his preordained role. So there's a lot to actually relate to and help us to better understand our own motivations in him. There's no good way to, or no succinct way, in my opinion, to really boil him down. But as far as like a comparison to maybe a more familiar piece of source material would be like Robin Hood. Why is Robin Hood an enduring story? It's at that level where it's the kind of story, or King Arthur, the story where, you know, everyone knows, everyone is familiar with it, even if you've never read any of the original source material or the Arthurian legends. You know who King Arthur is. You know who Robin Hood is. Maybe you've seen Disney's Robin Hood. It's out there, and it's something that is part of your experience growing up. And the same goes for Sun Wukong and the Monkey King.
Yeah, I think the rebellious thing I can definitely get, because I think it's like when you have a really good character that people can relate to, right? Someone that he's learned all these things. He's learned it in the beginning of the story, and then he gets overconfident, which gets rebellious, which then he gets humbled, right? And then he gets this story to this amazing arc to come back out of it. I think that type of character arc can stand the test of time. One, and number two, I mean, yes, I read the translated version of it, but man, it's funny. He is a humor-esque character. With sometimes he has so much confidence, too much confidence. It's just fun to read. If you have not read the book Monkey Journey to the West, I'd highly recommend it. Yeah, interesting. Very, very interesting. I have something to add to this while we continue to draw, because I absolutely love them. I'm looking at the pictures that Lindsay gave for this. I think we're spot on. Let's see if we can add some of the treasures he's collecting. This is a beast a calling that lives on the Great Mountain, rummaging and collecting treasures, crystals, picking up lost treasures that people may have left as they try to walk up the Great Mountain, climb the Great Mountain. So let's add some treasures to Majesty. I love where we're going with this right now. And if you have a question, feel free to throw it. Feel free to throw it in the chat. I love that Matt did this. So I can't know if I can read everything. Can we read everything? No, it stops at slopes of, unfortunately. But I will
read it out loud.
I'm going to read it out loud from Lindsay's worksheet, and then I'm going to show Lindsay's worksheet. Actually, what I'll do is I'm going to show Lindsay's worksheet first, and then I'll read it out loud. So first and foremost, let's see. For anyone here saying, hey, how can I create my own beast within Bastunia? We have a beast worksheet for you. Let's share it here. And we give you the frameworks to back into what your beast might look like. First thing we're going to ask, is your beast a builder, explorer, defender? And we have quizzes you can take to try to figure this out. So which Lindsay answered explorer, right? So then once you're an explorer, we say, is it an explorer pilot? Is it a climber? Is it a sprinter? Or is it a mariner, right? Does it swim in the water? Let's see if I can make this bigger. There we go. Does it climb? Does it fly? Does it run? Or does it swim is really what we're trying to get at, which she says, hey, it'd be a climber. And then we back into it and we say, what's the looks? So first off, what's the size of it, right? Size of a polar bear, the shape of a large dog, which gives Evan something to work with. Then we ask, what are some of the colors? Eyes, paw pads, nails, nose are amethyst. Fur is white and sparkles like fresh snow, so he can blend into the mountaintops. The amethyst nose can change color, kind of like a mood ring. Now she's starting to get an idea of this. So we say, describe it. It's a bear dog looking creature. It walks on all fours. It's big, fluffy tail and acts. We might have the tail. We might not have the tail. Acts as a blanket in overnight hikes. Mary Poppins kangaroo pouch to put its treasures in. So we're not going to see what's in its pouch here, but we are going to potentially see some of its treasures, and has a really good sense of smell. We give ideas for anyone in here, if you're wondering. And then we say, hey, where does it mostly live? in Bastunia. It lives in the forest, by a lake, river at the bottom of the mountain, or at the mountain tops camouflaged by the snow. Now, Lindsay has backed into this picture in her imagination. This beast did not exist before we asked these questions and she thought of it. So now we can ask, what's its story? And now it's easier to back into. She goes, it's a collector. He uses a sense of smell to forage edibles, berries, nuts, plants, and eat on hikes. It's skilled treasure hunter and always finds crystals, fossils, lost human treasures. He's always accidentally, here's the dopiness, stumbling upon hidden homes of fairies and gnomes in the forest. But they've learned to love him despite his large size, send him back with gifts and a full belly before casting a spell so he forgets that he met them. He loves creatures. He's in awe of the capabilities of creatures like fish and birds that are so different from him. And because of his large size, he scares the predators, which is great because he wouldn't be very useful in a fight. This is, again, the dopiness that's beginning to come out. Nose changes colors. Oh, she even says a little dopey. Nose changes colors like a mood ring. Main form of communication up to all humans. Since he's white, he blends in with the snow. All of this stuff ends up blending in with the dirt until he takes a bath in the river. And then what's his ability? So she said his ability is auric transmission. He takes the power of his aura and he transmits it into. It correlates with his sense of smell and treasure hunting. Basically, when he's on a scent trail, he can transfer that trail to other beings so they can hunt too. This works not only for animals, food, but inanimate objects as well. So if I hold up a crystal for him to smell, he can track it down and locate more crystals in the vicinity. So he's got this power to bring this aura in, and then he can find and helps other people find what they need to find. So we take all of that, we give it to Matt, and Matt does his eloquent write-up. Oh, dang. All right. Ready. I'm going to drink water. On its bear-like haunches, Majesty, which is the name we're going with, unless anyone else puts something in the chat. On its bear-like haunches, Majesty stands 12 feet tall. It has blindingly white fur, amethyst paw pads, nails, and eyes, a gem-toned nose that color shifts by its mood, and a great fleecy tail. None would disagree that the beast is fearfully and woefully made, and aptly named. Friends of Majesty know that the white calling only poses itself in menacing postures, and that the calling maintains an illusion of fearsome bulk out of amusement. Climbers who encounter Majesty in its element on the snowy slopes of the Boundary Mountains, in the muddy springtime foothills, in the surrounding conifer forest, see the beast's disarmingly eccentric nature. While standing still, Majesty could be mistaken for a patch of glacial ice. But when it moves, the beast jangles. Its unique... Jeez, Matt, come on. Tintinabulation? Am I saying this right, Evan?
I have no idea.
Come on, Matt! Man, its unique tintinabulation is a consequence of...
I think he needs to put $1 in the swear jar.
Come on, Matt! Underline, italicize. Its unique tintinabulation is a consequence of its stuffing its marsupial pouch with an endless amount of treasures, collectibles. The beast has an uncanny knack for sniffing out in the wilderness. This is how climbers of the Bastunian Mountains have come to revere Majesty as a good omen. And because it seems all valuables lost in Majesty's domain eventually end up in the shaggy trader's pouch, any climber in need who encounters the beast can often have it fulfilled, albeit the items that come out of the pouch are often far from mint condition, caked in mud from the dopey calling's latest romp, or just tangled up inseparably. The calling's powerful sense of smell comes in useful for treasure hunts, rescue attempts, and when searching out foodstuffs, all of which make the beast a valuable climbing companion. Majesty takes this impeccable sense to the next level through auric transmission, which permits other members of the beast's party to partake in the potentially life-saving skill of sophisticated sniffing. Matt, you are incredible at what you do. Other than this, I mean, this, I am copying this, I am posting it here, and now I'm putting this, I am showing everybody what I had to try to read. So that's what Matt does. Tintinnabulation. Hopefully I said that right. That's what Evan stems off of to create what we see here today. And we're coming into the last 10 minutes of our Facebook Live. Ask me anything. Feel free to ask any questions. But this is how we create for both young kids and adults alike. Anything you'd add there, Evan, of like, what are the big things you see? That he is coming along fabulously. Anything you want to add for what you use to stem off of Matt's tintinnabulation message?
No, I mean, I think it's pretty clear where, you know, a lot of the influences are coming from. I know Matt said that this is a beast that loves to pose in fearsome and imposing posture using its physicality, and I do like that. But I really, like I said, I wanted to hone in on that contrast of the name Majesty with this like super dopey surprise looking over its shoulder. You caught it with its pants down, like it's looking at all its treasures kind of feel. So it hasn't like had time to assume that posture. You're seeing it with its pants down, and that's really what I was going for here. I think we kind of pulled that off. Definitely, if I had more opportunity, I would try to find ways to push the physiology of the face. I kind of like where these walrus like tusks are sort of taking it. But I feel like the snout and eyes could probably be designed a little bit differently so that he doesn't feel quite so dog-like, or she doesn't feel quite so dog-like. But I'm happy with where she's going, and hopefully everyone else will too.
I dig this. Just so everyone knows, I am hopefully, Evan, you know this, and Matt says it was worth it. Tintinnabulation is how he made it phonetic for us. I think I said that right. We'll see. Evan, if you don't know this, I feel like I'm your biggest fan. Matt and I were talking. I have now created my Explorer calling in a worksheet, my Defender calling in a worksheet, and my Builder calling in a worksheet. And I am just sitting eager to be like, man, when can I get my next calling created by Evan? I mean, because for me, I grew up loving animals, loving mythical creatures, and continue to grow up into my 20s. And that would be something that I would ask people. Like when I first met them, I'd be like, what's your spirit animal? Just because I love the introspection it can bring somebody and like the meaning we can throw on it. I'm a big believer that we create our own meaning for life. And when you can ask questions like, what's your spirit animal? It allows you a chance to throw meaning on it. And recently created my Defender calling and my Builder calling. And it gives me confidence and power in certain parts of my life, because it's almost an extension of something that I hold dear, if that makes sense. And I'm excited to see the meaning you throw on your beast, Evan. But
it'll happen.
Here's one of the last questions, because we're actually going into like what I would call polishing up the beast.
Oh, I wouldn't.
Well, but you know what I mean? You're starting to put like the shades. Isn't this where you start to shade?
Yeah. But so just to be clear, the polish stage of this would be, I would knock back that line art and basically redraw it with cleaner line art, cleaner inking, kind of like drawing a comic on a light box. You'd throw your first draft or your pencils on a light box, and then go over them again and again and again.
Is this what you do for our past callings that we've created as well?
Yeah. So for instance, and Jugosh have been the most recent that have taken that full polish So I took the original drawings that you saw, which were all scratchy, much like this one, and I did exactly that. I cleaned up the line work. I incorporated things like more deliberate design of line weight, which here is pretty slapdash. All the kinds of things that are important sensibilities at that next level of polish, depending on the kind of finish that you're going for.
Mm. So I guess my question would then be, what are you doing right now? Because I see you do this every week where it's you finish the line, whether it's rough or
Mm-hmm.
not. You finish the line and you start shading it in gray. And like, for instance, if we can come back to, I'm getting ready to share real quick. If we come back to Centrac, who we created last week, we see that it turns quickly into what we see right here. Right?
Right.
Oops, I can't make it bigger. What are you doing to do this shading, if that makes sense? Like, what is it that you would do specifically in what you're working on to create this shading?
I mean, this is definitely something that I would do. It's part of the look that this IP has, stemming from the comics and the way that they're planned and printed and designed. But in this case, a lot of times at this point of our sessions, it's often for fun, just because we have anywhere from 10 to 15 minutes left, and the drawing is as far along as it's going to get without taking a full other pass, which no one wants to watch. It's pretty boring. And so it's how can I continue adding value to this image and increasing its readability while in that performative context of a live stream. But also it's a really important step that I would simply take in a much less formal fashion to set up a value map. It's really, really critical. It's arguably the most important step for painting, or even in this case, this kind of graphic line and color where all the colors are flat. It's not really brushy, but it's still very much a critical step. And the way I would actually normally go about it, just to demonstrate real quick, is I would do this on a different sheet. I would take the line work and I'd probably scale it down to something really small like this. And then what I would do is I would just go over it in the way that I might with, some Copic markers, and just do a really rough fill in and try to determine what the value structure, which is to say the blacks and whites, the grays, is going to look like. And I say that it's the most important part because it is. Value is way, 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 way more important in color. So if I were to plan to make his, these crystalline or ice horns lighter than the rest of his body, I might try something like that. If I wanted to go darker, I might reverse it. And what it does is it just gives me a really quick, rapid read of how does this work as a value structure. Maybe his fur, all of his fur is white, but maybe it just gets more white as it approaches his face, her face.
Its face. For anyone here that knows, callings don't have a sex.
Yes.
It's just your calling, which we talked about last week. If you want to rewatch the replay, feel free. Keep going, Evan.
So that's really the idea. You take it's called a thumbnail, and a lot of times you'll draw a thumbnail for planning a composition. In this case, this would be a thumbnail that's explicitly for planning out the value of something that's going to be painted out, and that would be the process. I'm not doing that here again because of the nature of the live stream, but I will, of course, problem solve those values when these are more laid in. But that's my answer to your question. What am I doing here? I'm doing that just in kind of a more performative capacity.
It blows my mind, man. It's crazy that this can come to life in an hour. And then for anyone that does want to see what I would call the final drawing of the rough draft, make sure you go to our Instagram page. Let's see if I can throw our link tree in the comments. Hopefully it goes to all places. That is our link tree. If you want to check out, you can see us. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube. What we've really come is Facebook is where we answer a lot of questions. We might put polls. We might have longer posts that you can read to learn more about us and the world. Instagram is really starting to become the hub of pictures, the final drawings of these first draft beasts, I should say. So make sure you go to Instagram and give us some love there. TikTok is starting to turn into where we get this message of the importance of imagination and creativity out there. Make sure you check us on TikTok. And then YouTube is more of the behind the scenes, what we're doing to create this world. Feel free to follow us there if you want. If you are looking to create a calling or a beast for yourself or your kids, reach out to us. We will definitely send you that worksheet for you to play around with, whether your kid wants to draw it or just write about it. And you can send it in and we can show you how this can be featured in an upcoming Book of Beasts, short story, or even our comic. So if you are curious about that, don't hesitate to reach out. This is something that we love building. I don't know about you, Evan, but sometimes when you think of like the creatives, you think of these people that are a little pompous and like, oh, that's a dumb question. Why would you actually? It's this, and they drink with their pinky out. That's not us at all. I'm the fool, right? As you can see right below. We want to create this collaboratively with our audience. We think there's not a lot of things out there that do it. So please feel free to reach out, ask any questions, create in this world. We welcome it. And I'm going to leave it at that. We're about 1 hour in. Evan has a couple last minute touches, and then he's going to send this picture over, and I'll put it on Instagram in our Facebook page so you can see it there. Thank you all so much for coming out. It's cool to see the numbers grow every week and people asking questions and saying hi. Continue. Even if you pop in for a little bit to say hi, ask a question, or if you want to watch the replay, it means a lot to us. That's it from me. Evan, any last minute stuff from you?
Thanks all.
Yeah. The most Evan answer ever.
You know where to find me. If anyone has any questions, feel free to send them my way. My bread and butter is talking about the art stuff. If anyone's interested in, the more formal aspects of how that happens or how one makes a career in that, which they do exist, believe it or not. Or more importantly, if you have kids that are interested in that sort of thing and have no idea where to start, please don't hesitate to reach out. I do mentor a lot of artists. I art direct a lot, which normally involves guiding a lot of artists. And if nothing else, I can certainly recommend some resources or point you in the right direction. But I'm always happy to talk about the art stuff until I'm blue in the face.
Make sure, with that said, make sure you check out the relevant art by Evan Winston. I just put a link in the comments. Go support his work. It's absolutely incredible work. And if you want him to create a beast for you or your kids, reach out to us and we can show you how he can do that. Because they are, what's the best word I would call it? They are tintinnabulation. Hopefully I use that right.
Oh my God.
Everyone have a good day. We'll see you in 2 weeks.